notice that frozen water, after it sits out for a while, room temperature turns into a liquid, right? It goes from a solid to a liquid. Dry ice, instead of being frozen water, is actually frozen carbon dioxide. So this is the stuff that you breathe out, and it's about 120 degrees below zero. So when it hits room temperature, it skips the liquid step, and it goes straight from a solid to a gas. It's called sublimation. So if you kind of flick this stuff around, you can kind of see it smoking a little bit. That's the vapor. It's turning directly into a vapor. And if I push it, it goes pretty far. Kind of like an air hockey table is pushing air up. This is like there's a layer of gas underneath, so it just will slide and slide and slide. So sublimation's happening. You can kind of see it. Kind of see it smoking. I'm going to take I got a pair of tongs here. The tongs are room temperature, pretty much a little colder. But if I were to touch this, kind of sounds like it's screaming.
Sizzly.
Yeah, it's like it's sizzling because right where the metal is touching the dry ice, the two temperatures are trying to equalize. So the ice is trying to make the tongs the same temperature, and the tongs are trying to make the ice its temperature, and it's going to keep squealing until it meets the middle and comes to equilibrium. So if I look at, I wish I had an actual flashlight. Oh, my batteries are dead. So you can see my tongs are frozen now. And it will reach a point, once they equalize, it'll reach a point where it just won't scream anymore because my tongs are so cold and I'd have to warm them up again. So I can.
Tongs are very cold right now.
My tongs are very cold. If I grab a fresh pair of tongs that are room temperature. So the noise is actually caused because the gas is escaping so fast, it's actually making the metal vibrate, kind of like a string on an instrument would vibrate.
What happened if you hit the new pair of tongs with the other one that's the hot temperature?
These two? Probably nothing. I don't think the difference will be great enough because the tongs, while they're frosted, they're not 110 degrees below zero frosted.
Oh.
So the sublimation happens even faster if you add it to water. So I will take just some water in my beaker. And I'll put my gloves on. If you touch dry ice with bare hands, it'll automatically frostbite. Burn your skin, basically.
Automatically?
Yeah, it takes only like a half a second for your skin to start burning. And we use the word burning, even though it's actually freezing. It's killing the tissue.
Looks like an instant kill.
So you see the sublimation will happen faster, and that gas will just keep coming out. Well, it's the carbon dioxide gas.
I see.
That's why if you ever do play with dry ice, you want to make sure you're in a big room. Don't do it in the closet because you'll breathe in too much carbon dioxide and you might get
Carbon
sick.
dioxide poisoning.
To make this look a little my tongs.
Good.
This is why my hands are kind of dirty. So this is just let's say this is the inside of a highlighter.
Oh.
I wonder if I squeezed all the stuff out. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Oh, he's making the skin for all.
Bro, he's making I wish you'll take something from Breaking Bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
This dude's making a cure for everyone.
So again, that is not
Bro, I bet
glowing,
Jerry, you monkey didn't drink it.
right? You can see that it's just the fact that there's a black light on it that's causing it to fluoresce like that.
Yo, drink it, monkey man.
Bro,
Monkey man, drink it, monkey man.
I came out there.
I am a different breed. He tried
Bro, this hip's so very.
cheese. Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
tried this before, and it worked pretty good.
Bro, that
See if
just
it
falls on the
works.
floor and soaks with
It actually,
What if you
I
mix
think
the
it
two
actually
things
will
that-
too,
what
so
if
I
you mix
froze
it?
my desk pretty good, but
You mixed another highlighter thing.
Is the part of the part where all the dry ice and water is that the coolest part?
this is the coolest part, yeah, down
It
here.
doesn't feel cold.
It's
Probably.
not too bad, yeah, but I had this in my cooler overnight, and when I went out to my carport to pick it up, put it in my car this morning, it was frozen to the ground.
Oh.
So it gets pretty cold, definitely gets cold. All right, so we did the bubble lab a little while ago, and basically when you're blowing a bubble, you're just putting more carbon dioxide into a film, right? So you're trying to get water to lower the surface tension enough to make a bubble. So I'm gonna see if I can make this do it kind of for me. Gross. See if I can get some of this out of here.
Green.
Yeah, it's the dye. I'm actually gonna throw a little more dry ice in there, see if I can make this work. I got lucky this morning. Not a lot, but this is a little finicky. Put some more in here. So I'm gonna try like we did in the bubble lab. I got my bubble solution here. I'm gonna see if I can make this blow a bubble for me. Glass is fogging up. It's so dark I can't actually see if it's working. Keep my fingers crossed.
Oh. Oh.
Hopefully that'll fill up with the carbon dioxide gas. And then when it finally pops, all that gas will just spill out. It's not actually wet or anything. See how big it gets before it goes.
That is a big bubble.
It's like a crystal ball.
Yeah, but
What's gonna happen when it pops?
All that gas will kind of spill out, kind of like it was in here. I wonder if this is the biggest one I've gotten yet.
How long?
Jesus
Oh.
warms all of those.
That was better than the first one. So it's probably going to.
It's doing a sizzle noise.
Back in here. Sounds angry.
Why are you? Sounds like a nut.
You guys want? Are you guys planning on dying?
What? I'm 6 feet. Oh,
Yeah, guys, you gotta be 6 feet.
These are all been traded.
Yeah, look over the right, just look over there.
They just
Come on, don't break my container, man.
You wouldn't burn through the container, would it?
It would just, the molecules of the plastic would get so cold that they'd be so brittle that it would probably break if you,
Well,
well, let it warm up for a second.
my
Hopefully
paper's
not too
going.
fast. Oh, you
My
got
nails are
highlighter, right?
glowing. Yeah. Mine not.
Speaking of glowing, let's talk about
Oxygen.
glow sticks.
Oh, my
Whoa.
sister a little bit.
Yeah.
Does it only happen in
I'm
those?
wearing young green, he's wearing white.
No, matter of fact,
Glasses this size.
there are lots of things that'll move
Yo, his
fast.
glasses are glowing.
You notice that, like, take a look at that paper that's on Landon's desk, and certain dyes are in your laundry detergent. Like white things will really show up, especially if you wash whites in a particular detergent. They will react, they'll fluoresce too. Let me see how this works here. I'm just gonna add a little more water so it stops being angry. It's not cold. So the good old glow stick that everybody likes to play with, you know that in here there's some liquid. So I took this glow stick earlier today and I cut it open.
Make some.
Have you ever cut one open before?
Yeah.
It busted on my hands once.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's definitely stuff you don't want on your
Yeah, I
hands,
drank
but
it one time.
when you mix, you know that it doesn't glow until you break it and the two chemicals mix, and that's a chemical reaction, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So chemicals and molecules have,
Color in that or something?
they have energy in their bonds.
The highlighter got some. Yeah.
So when, it's called chemical potential energy. So potential energy is like stored energy. It's in the molecules themselves, in the bonds. When the glow stick, when the chemical reaction happens, those bonds break and the energy release, it's released in the form of light. Right, so this is called chemoluminescence. Somebody said bioluminescence before, so this
Yeah.
is chemoluminescence. So I'm gonna take these guys apart. best I can. So inside, there is a clear liquid, and there's this glass ampule. And the two chemicals that you get, the clear one is just hydrogen peroxide. You can see it's not glowing. There's nothing going on there, it's just clear. There's a little bit of reaction because I broke one earlier. Cleaned it out the best I could.
The
And
hell
again,
now.
this isn't glowing. If I turn my black light off, there's nothing going on yet. But if I break that and mix them together, you get the chemical reaction. So, I'm gonna look in the dark here. How am I gonna break it? This is not easy.
Is that why you crack it?
That's why you have to crack it. So this is a nice thick plastic because the glass is very thin. And if
Oh.
see when it breaks, that's when you actually get the light is emitted. So all that stored energy that was in those bonds, when the chemical reaction happens, is being released, and part of it is being released as light energy.
You mix that with the green one?
Could I mix it with the green one? I don't have a green one open. That was just highlighter. That wasn't actually glowing. That was just the ink or the whatever was in my highlighter, which was luminescent. So that's how that works. So let me give you one.
You know, people are actually like violent.
So I'll give you one, and you can do the same.
And
By the way, does anybody know how if you broke one, you know, and you wanted to make it last long, does anybody know
Put
what
it
you
in
do?
a freezer.
You put it in the freezer, right? Put it in the freezer. Does anybody know why?
it's the
Parents told me.
Because it makes time go slower. because
It makes the reaction happen slower. That's exactly right. So, in the reaction, the speed of the reaction depends on the temperature. So I have, hopefully, I don't know how hot this is. I'm gonna stick my finger in it. This is cold. I'm gonna stick these guys in there for a second. I'm gonna go get some hotter water. This wasn't super hot. I'll be right back. But we should see a difference between the two. I'll be right back.
And the bell goes off once again.
Move.
It's time for the crusade!
Woo!
That was mean, monkey man. Wait, does hand sanitizer glow?
I don't know.
The light is on.
So we put these two guys side by side and leave them for a second. The one, we should see a difference. This is the cold water, and this is the hot water. We'll give them a couple of minutes and see what happens. It takes a few minutes, and I'll give you one. You want to use it? Use it. You want to
Okay.
use it,
Mr. Perry, since it's hotter, since it's hotter, isn't that speeding up the reaction? That's why that one's more bright.
The hotter one should be brighter if we give it a couple of minutes. Well, let's give it some time, we'll see what happens. Well, this is a good thing. You don't have to wear it if you don't want to. Let's wear it one thing. So you gotta really break it up. So you really, some kids, the first period were like, this isn't working. You gotta really crack it.
Yes, definitely not the
Keep cracking it and cracking it and cracking it.
What is the other chemical in it?
Hydrogen peroxide, and the other thing is just a liquid that's filled with fluorescent dye. Kind of like you would have in a laundry detergent or quinine. If you ever drank tonic water, that's got quinine in it. It's another thing that is luminescent. So yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's-
you really gotta crack it up, like, you kinda like, yeah, shake it, you gotta break all that glass, if you still hear it cracking, then there's more to go.
My brother.
Yeah, I think this is good.
Grade school, he's in the military.
Right, that's cool.
Star Wars.
Glowing.
That's for a long time.
Bro, mine is
So it definitely looks like the hot water one's definitely a little brighter.
Bro, yours is like.
So that's
10
right,
times
if you wanna
brighter.
make them last, put them in the freezer, that'll slow
Mine
down
is
the
like a
reaction.
red color, but yours is so bright.
Come here. Bro, you got a red one? Can we trade?
That's up to you.
I got orange.
It's
I got
probably-
orange.
I got
Put this
lavender.
on my arm and I'll.
Oh, purple.
It's not.
Break it off.
This is like a lavender.
Oh,
No, it's not.
Whoa.
let's see.
I sure saw it.
That's kind of cool. How that's doing that. Yo, put it up. Like, put it towards.
Bro, I'm gonna open this up and.
My shirt over that.
That's
'cause it's
it.
in here.
All right, here's the last one. It's the ghost.
Bro, I'm trying to
bottle.
open this like. What? Do better than
Do this. Just bend it while like hold it.
I still hear glass breaking around.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I commit arson and self-defense. It's a joke.
So here's my bottle with the ghost in it. See how it
Really,
works.
that's a joke. Really, that was a joke.
Or was it?
Bro, chug it.
Chug, chug.
He likes to drink water.
Rate it. You want to trade?
No,
Back.
Bro,
Thirsty.
no one likes purple. Get out of here, bro.
it's lavender, guys. It's lavender.
Yeah.
I want to give him a drink.
Thirsty.
Bro, flip it your fingers.
Oh shoot. Yo, do you have pierced ears?
Now he has to pee.
No, I dropped it.
You can't fit
I
this.
dropped my fingers.
Unless.
It doesn't.
I think you dropped the clear piece.
Yeah.
You'll
Drop
turn
it.
around in a minute.
Bro, how do you? Oh, my hand's too big.
All right, I
That's
guess
a
I'm
good
gonna do
one.
this once.
No.
Bro, can you help me put my
Ready
suit
to
on?
come out. Just needs a little light.
Yo.
Oh, you're lighting that thing on fire, huh?
Back a bit closer.
Ooh, more fire. Whoa!
Do that again.
I can only do it once because the reaction that happens is liquid takes up a lot less space than gas. So rubbing alcohol evaporates really quickly at room temperature. So it was filling the inside of this bottle with vapor, but there's only a tiny hole to escape out of. So once the combustion happened, once it had the spark, it all tried to spread out as quickly as it could, but it could only get out this hole. So actually, even though it only took a second, it's super hot.
That'd be a great weapon.
If I did it again, I would probably melt this
Flamethrower.
thing. It's actually almost too hot to touch. That is-
Oh.
Oh, flame. You can make your own.
It's hot,
How
yeah.
did this not let you
Definitely
know?
would
Make your
melt
own
if I did it
homemade
again.
flamethrower. I know how to make flamethrowers. I commit art.
Yeah,
For legal
melt.
reasons, that's a joke.
Okay. Sure.
Same joke twice.
I'm not sure if this works.
It's kind of easy. Just take a lighter, blowtorch,
Oh, that smells good.
and let the arson begin.
It smells kind of like a gas station.
Smells
You
like
like
So
it?
this is, I don't know if you've ever tried this before, this is a wintergreen flavor.
Ooh.
What now?
Yeah, it's gotta be wintergreen, and I don't know if I can get this to work.
What color would be better if we mixed all the different color of?
That'll be brown. That's what happens when you mix every color together. So wintergreen and sugar both have special, oh, this is what I was looking for, have fluorescent properties. So this is called triboluminescence. So anytime you can get luminescence from friction, wintergreen is the flavoring that they use, that chemical in there does a really good job. It has to be like super dark. And it was not quite dark enough to make this work as well. But if you take this into the bathroom and look at it in front of the mirror and you take it and bite down, it takes a little practice, and I don't think it's dark enough to see. But you could do it with a pair of pliers. Yeah, it's not quite working. But you can try it. Just don't break your teeth. Have you ever tried that before? It's gonna be wintergreen, because it's got the chemical in it that will do it.
Wait, so lightsabers have chemicals in them?
It's the friction of you biting on it. You can try it with a hammer too. You'd be better off being in like complete darkness.
So what were the chemicals that you used to make that thing that went on fire?
That this is 90% rubbing alcohol, so it's actually it's 99.9%.
So rubbing
So it's
alcohol is
almost
flammable?
100%. Oh yeah.
Yeah, rubbing alcohol is very
For, like,
flammable.
eating off like a rocket.
These are in fact, I don't know,
Like
try
like
it.
a really small one. Wait, so wait, isn't it?
Hey, what is this?
I thought so.
Yeah, try it.
Wait, so wait, I want to be an astrophysics. So like, isn't it like? Oh my god, I did too.
Everyone
Yeah.
wants to
Shut
be a
up.
little-
How wait, so how much rubbing? In that, I know like for a certain for alcohol to be flammable, it has to be over a certain percent of
Yeah, like.
You can, at the, like CVS or whatever, I think it comes in
Minty.
70, 90.
Doesn't it?
I don't know where
Well-
this might be.
How high the alcohol percentage of this stuff to be for it to be flammable?
I think you could probably do it with any.
Some are.
This was.
A lot of alcohol.
I mean, I do have some of those giant jugs of water.
You couldn't, I see what you're saying. You couldn't set like a can of beer on fire, but you could set a glass of whiskey on fire.
Or like vodka.
Isn't that how they?
Whiskey is the state drink of Virginia.
Drinking.
That's how they make
Yes,
vodka though.
Molotovs, sometimes they
I
use
know I
gasoline,
have
so.
Molotovs are really good for like zombie apocalypse. And I'm just saying.
Thank God.
No, I'm just saying. It's like a half.
There it is.
I'll see or something.
Science.